I want to start by apologizing for the crappy audio quality that you may be hearing at the moment because my microphone, for some reason, doesn't want to connect to my Mac. So I will try and keep this as short as possible so you don't have to listen to this terrible sound that is my voice without a quality microphone. Not that a microphone really makes it that much better, but nonetheless, here we are. Anyways, so this video was really just intended to be an update more so than anything. Let you know maybe some of the progress I've made in certain areas on what I've talked about with previous videos. And I think one of those things is touching on the subject of confronting difficult situations. So if you've been watching these videos, you know that I have recently separated ways with my partner and CTO. And that's obviously not a very easy thing to approach. That's supposedly what does a lot of startups in, according to the statistics, based on my understanding. And it makes sense because obviously, tempers can flare and people can say things they don't mean, and it can be a very bad situation if you let your emotions get the best of you, especially if you hold a bunch of pent-up aggression as a result of whatever that other person isn't doing or is doing. I guess just depending upon your situation. So, but the thing is though is that with these difficult situations, we often tend to, or I often tend to, not want to address them. I'm sure many other people don't like addressing them as well. But the thing is though is that we're only hurting ourselves when we put off having, confronting difficult situations, right? It festers, it builds, it gets worse, it never gets any better, and the longer you let it go on, the more it's going to start affecting you and your mood. And so a lot of the times when we address them right away, we kind of rip off the Band-Aid, things get better, at least incrementally, pretty quickly. And that's one of the things that we've noticed is that as a result of having that difficult conversation or dealing with that difficult situation, we are experiencing some progress in some areas that is quite noticeable, and one of which is communication. But we are a small team. It's not like that should have been an issue in the first place. But communication has definitely improved. It seems like we're moving along quicker with developing new features and pushing those out. And just generally, I think the mood is kind of it's good as a result of the increased or enhanced rather communication. I think it's actually gotten better, and yeah, I feel generally pretty good about the things that we're doing. We're putting processes in place where there wasn't any previously, or there was which leads to confusion, right? A lot of the time, especially when you're developing features, and there's a lot of details that you need to drill down into when you're building a software that you don't really think about when you say something like, oh, this would be a cool feature, but then you don't realize the domino effect that has on maybe the rest of your user experience or some of the other functionality of the site or the logic of the site even. So it's nice to have good communication, lines of communication open, and I think we're doing that. So I feel good about that, and I'm happy to say that is something I can see as a positive sign as a result of some of the things that we've gone through so far. So that I thought was helpful to some degree. I know that we don't like to have these conversations or deal with difficult situations, but it's oftentimes I think the things that we run from are the things we avoid that could propel us a lot further, a lot quicker. And I'm optimistic this is one of those scenarios. So that's my thought on that. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, because I'm a little proud of myself right now, if I could pat my own back, I've written my first software program. So I did mention previously that I was learning Python, and I've taken a couple online courses, built some games and just random applications as a result of doing those courses. But this was my first solo program. I had to figure it out all on my own from the ground up, and I'm quite proud of myself. And just a little background on what it is. It's a script really that takes variables from columns within a spreadsheet, with an Excel spreadsheet, and it takes those variables and it generates personalized individual emails based on a template that I've set up with placeholders. So it'll insert somebody, based on the row that it's taking the data from. It'll insert the name and a password and username, or whatever's unique to that individual, so that it's catered to them, but in a templatized format. And just to put this out there, I'm not spamming anybody. What happened is I'm doing on batch onboarding. So we have some partners that we're working with, and we've been working with for a long time, and so they have a new cohort that they want to onboard, but they like me to go through the process of actually setting up each account, which means I have to do it manually because we don't have that functionality built out because we don't do it enough. And so part of what takes me a long time to do that is getting these emails together, making sure that I have the custom passwords and usernames I've set up for them, and that the email addresses them and their company. And so I have to swap out certain things and copying and pasting. And if you do that over 50 or 60 people, that can be a little time consuming. So I've written a script to automate all of that for me. And I just kind of like opening the script up and looking at the code. And I know that's a very weird thing to say, but I'm a weird guy. I like coding. This is something I think I'm just going to continue to do just as an enjoyable hobby. And I can actually automate. What I found is I can actually automate tasks that help me do, manual kind of boring things quicker, which is pretty cool. And I'm now constantly always thinking about what I can automate. So that's I don't know, pretty empowering. And the reason I'm bringing this up also is because I also question myself a lot as far as like what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because there's no readily available answer in my mind as to why I'm learning to code, at least as far as, it's not like I'm going to start jumping in and developing our product and just reaching new milestones as far as our product roadmap goes. I think that's a little unrealistic. So the utility of my learning to code is pretty limited, I think, in scope, and that raises questions in my mind of, am I wasting my time, for instance? And it's possible. It definitely is. I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think that in the long run, it's going to be a bad thing. One of the things that kind of resonates with me, or that I think about from one of the books I read, actually it was Adam Grant's Originals. He said something along the lines of, great artists in history like Mozart or Da Vinci, what really is a common characteristic that a lot of them have, and even inventors, it doesn't just, it's not just artists, but entrepreneurs, inventors, whatever it is. What sets these people apart, or not even sets them apart, but what the commonalities that they have is that they produce a massive body of work. So, whether that's Da Vinci painting or inventing or sculpting or whatever, or Mozart, playing piano or conducting symphonies rather, whatever he did, right? Not the biggest music buff, but hey, the amount of work that they produced over their lifetime or over their careers is staggering, and so they have gems that stick out as timeless and just classics throughout the ages, and they also have a lot of crap that they produced at the same time. And so the act of creation, in my mind, is very important, especially if you can broaden the scope of the things that you're creating. And yeah, maybe I'm not going to start developing our product right now, but maybe something I'm capable of developing very soon here can help us propel to the next level or whatever, or even become maybe a product that overtakes this product. And not to get too out in fantasy land, but the act of creation, that what I took away from that blurb from the book is really just the act of creation in and of itself. That is a valuable thing, and the more you produce, the better you get, the more refined your craft becomes. That you're more likely to have success as a result of just producing. And I like building things. This is why I started a business in the first place. And I think I get a really good sense of accomplishment from building a script or a little program or something that is actually functional and maybe even useful to people. So I think I'm just going to continue to develop that skill on the side, no matter what. Try and come up with cool, maybe marketing projects that I can. It's there's a term for it in the marketing and growth hacking communities of like development as a channel, or I don't remember what it is. I'm not even going to try. Anyways, but you can, I can develop, a simple calculator or something like that, launch it on Product Hunt or, spread it amongst communities that might find it useful, and it would be a channel for us. It could be a channel for us, and it would be free, and it's something that continues to add value or provide value to people's lives. That is another reason for them to come to our site or whatever. So that's my long rant about that. But this is the way I'm justifying learning to code in my own mind. Aside from the fact that it actually has helped also with communication with my development team. So I'm able to talk more in their language, and I think that leads to decreased ambiguity and higher productivity, or whatever, if you want to put it in consultant speak. So I think that's a good thing. I guess before I end this video really quick, one thing that happened today, just a little earlier, is we did cross that revenue milestone I talked about on one of the previous videos. So I want to dedicate a whole video to that because there's a lot of things we learned along the way to get to this point, but I'm not going to tell you what it is right now, but we have crossed that revenue milestone, so I will celebrate that probably for the next 5 minutes, and then I will get back to work and work on the next milestone. So you don't want to celebrate too long. So that's it for me for this week. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, please leave it in the notes section or the comment section below. I'm more than happy to respond back and interact. So have a great week, and I will see you next time.